Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the IceCaps Weekly Wrap. I'm Amy Johnson, and let's first take a look back at the games the IceCaps played this past week. They kicked off their final road trip of the regular season this week, and the IceCaps Hockey Report team was with them for all three games this weekend, covering the action live from Central New York. We kicked things off on Friday night with a tilt against the Utica Comets. It was a closely played game. Final score was 2-1 here, with the IceCaps coming out victorious in overtime. Jeremy Gregoire got the IceCaps on the board first in the first period, and then in overtime it was Max Freeberg who took an end-to-end rush with a nice wrister, nice shot into the goal past Joe Canada to get the overtime winner for the IceCaps. Then things got a little bit testy as the IceCaps traveled to Syracuse for a back-to-back on Saturday and Sunday. These were both extremely physical games. We're talking many major 10-minute misconduct penalties in both games. John Scott had a 10-minute misconduct in both Saturday and Sunday's tilt, as did Josiah Didier had a misconduct penalty. Lots of fights. In fact, the game on Saturday night was very physical. As I say, Gabriel Dumont got the IceCaps on the board first. Then Shane Baker dropped the gloves with the Crunch's Broll and had a nasty bout with him and ended up not returning to the game after injuring his hand in that fight. Brandon McNally was able to score another goal for the IceCaps in the third period. However, it just wasn't enough. The Syracuse Crunch did come out on top in this one with a final score of 3-2. At the end of the game, after the final whistle, both benches met on the ice with a lot of trash talking, a lot of pushing and shoving, and that tension spilled over to the game on Sunday, where Charles Hudon scored first within the first 2 minutes, and right after that, the fights and the tensions and the physical boarding and hits started. And this game got quite out of hand. Zach Focali wasn't looking quite at his best on this particular day, and the IceCaps fell to the Crunch 6-2 as they continued to try to maintain a grip on a playoff position. Transactions for the last week, there were a few players that came and went from the St. John's IceCaps. First of all, Charles Hudon and Darren Dietz were reassigned to St. John's from Montreal after the players they were replacing on emergency status came back into the lineup for the Canadiens. However, Darren Dietz ended up turning right around and going back up to Montreal after PK Subban went out with injury. Also, a couple of ATOs were signed throughout the week. Defenseman Christopher Joyaux joined St. John's IceCaps on an ATO, as did center Corey Ward, who played in his first game on Sunday in Syracuse. And finally, on Sunday, Joel Hanley was recalled by the Montreal Canadiens. Defenseman, as he went up on emergency status to take the place of Victor Bartley, who's out with a lower body injury. So looking ahead at this week, the IceCaps do continue their road trip in New York. They have games in Rochester against the Amherst on Wednesday and Friday evening. Those are 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 p.m. Newfoundland time starts. And then on Saturday they head to Toronto for a game at the ACC against the Marlies. And we will have all of the latest for you. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at IceCaps Report and log on to IceCapsHockeyReport.com to check out all of the latest about the IceCaps, all of the game recaps, including video and audio interviews that we had from this past weekend with Coach Lefebvre, Max Freeberg, Josiah Didier, Brandon McNally, Andrew Yogan, and Jeremy Gregoire. Thanks so much for watching. That's this week's edition of the IceCaps Weekly Wrap. I'm Amy Johnson. We'll see you right here next week.